This 10 acres of land is worth $50,000, even though I bought it at 25,000. I knew that it was worth $50,000 when I bought it because that's the price that the seller who I bought it from paid when she bought that land the year before. But $25,000 is not the price that you pay for 10 acres of land like this in that area. It's the price that you pay for 1 acre. So I guess technically you could say that I bought 10 acres for the price of one. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to do the same thing. What we're going to cover in this video is number one, I'm going to give you an overview of this property, show you how the property works. I'm going to also talk to you about how we ended up flipping this property, and I'm going to give you all the real numbers with the flip and the strategy that went into it. We're going to talk about the psychology of motivated sellers in detail so you understand exactly why somebody would sell at a discounted price like the one that I paid at this property. And then I'm going to tell you exactly how to find motivated sellers in your market so you can find deals like this. Now let's start with an overview of this property. I'm going to show you how the property works. This is a rectangular 10.44 acre rural home site in a town called Red Springs, North Carolina. It's about 40 minutes southwest of a city called Fayetteville. You access the property from a 50-foot wide private drive that comes from the main county road, and that private drive that takes you on a sandy road to the property is called Richland Drive. That private drive runs straight into the property and then it cuts perpendicular in both directions across the front of that land. You can see that the property has a real mature pine forest on it. And so the GIS satellite photo, when you look from a top-down perspective, you actually notice that the back of the property is a darker shade of green than the front half of the property. And the reason why is that that is swamp. So the land starts level in the front and it runs downhill into the swamp. So if you wanted to build a home on that land, you'd have to build in the front of that property because you can't build in the swamp, all right? Don't even try it. You're not Yoda, okay? Don't build in the swamp. The high and dry soil are in the front of the property, about the front third to be precise. And this is real sandy soil, which when it comes to septic, sandy soil is really good because it's dry and it drains really well. So you have a number of potential septic locations at the front of this property. Now, subdivide potential is kind of a big deal when you have property that's this big because you can't help but wonder, can I divide this land? Can I divide this land into 2 or more building lots? And would that help the resale value of this property? The problem, though, is that ordinarily the subdivide ordinance, the minor subdivide ordinance, is going to require that any newly created building lots are established on a public right-of-way, on a county maintained asphalt road. Now, we don't have that here, but in this county, in this particular case, the county will allow the private road frontage to count for the purposes of meeting the minimum dimensional requirements for the subdivide. So you could actually split this land into 2 or even 3 building lots because you have enough width to do that. But if you did it to 3 building lots, then it would kind of be narrow and like the neighbors would kind of be right next to each other. So it would be a little less appealing. I think that the profit maximizing split on a property like this is going to be 2 5.2 acre lots side by side. Because I think if you did that split, you could sell each of those 5.2 acre lots for about $35,000 a piece. Or if you kept it as one 10.4 acre property altogether, I think you could easily get 50,000 bucks for it. Now, the reason that I like this land when I bought it is because you have really good acreage for the price that we were planning to sell it at. Because you really, for 50K, it's hard to find property that size with this much development potential in that location with that much privacy. The fact that the land was marketed the year prior also gives us a really good gauge of value. It's a proof point, it's a litmus test that shows us here's what the market priced that property at when the property sold the year before. The other huge thing is that you have no restrictions. You have no subdivision level covenants and restrictions, and you also have zoning that allows for manufactured homes. It's a perfect large tract rural home site for a manufactured home. And manufactured home zoning, when it comes to rural land, is really a big deal because it opens the property up to more potential buyers. So you're able to take in more demand from potential buyers in the market, which means that if you ever had to sell that land, you have more demand coming in on the other side, plus you can sell it faster. Now, when we bought this land, the way that we found this seller was I actually sent a blind offer to the seller. So we sent a 1-page purchase agreement, sight unseen, to the seller at a price point of about $32,000. The $32,000 price point was priced based on a computer algorithm. And that's what a blind offer campaign is, if you ever hear about that. It's something that real estate investors do, land flippers, wholesalers, house flippers. And 32 grand is a pretty good price for a property that's worth 50, but I knew that I couldn't pay it. 32 grand sounds great, but I actually renegotiated down because for what I was trying to do to flip that land, $32,000 was going to be too high. Because if I paid 32 to the seller, they're not going to pay the agent. There's no agent. They're not going to pay any closing costs. All that stuff is going to fall on me. So really, I would estimate another $2,000 in closing costs and due diligence costs, just hard cost, which means that I would be into it at $34,000 total cost of goods sold, which means that if I sold it for less than I thought I would, if instead of selling at 50, I sold it at 40, I got to pay 10% to the agent. And basically, I'm breaking even after all that trouble. So, really, at $32,000, it wouldn't be a good enough price for me to justify the risk that I was taking. And believe it or not, if the seller had stuck at 32K, I would have walked away. I wouldn't have bought it, which sounds insane because that's 36% below the market price that that land sold for just the year before. But understand that if I was buying it for personal use or long-term investment purposes, $32,000 would be an excellent price to buy this land. So don't get me wrong, it's a good price. And under any other circumstances, I would have jumped at it and I would not have renegotiated. But I ended up buying it at 25K because the seller was amenable to working with me on price. And we'll get to that in just a bit. But with closing costs, to the closing attorney, with the soil report, the soil map that we got from the soil scientist, plus the septic permit, my total cost of goods sold, including everything together, was $26,752. So that's what I had in the land, in the deal. Now I decided to sell it all as one piece altogether. Now, even though the two lot subdivide, the two 5.2 acre lots would definitely result in higher sale price and incremental revenue, the issue is, number one, I'd have to pay several $1,000s to hire a surveyor and wait several months to actually get the subdivide done. Now, is that worth it? Maybe, maybe not. But the problem is that even once you pay the money and you get the survey, you get that survey done, then instead of having to find one buyer, you have to find two buyers. Instead of, you sell two different properties instead of just selling one property. But beyond that, each buyer that is buying those two 5.2 acres is going to be harder to find because it's much more distinctive and easier to sell a 10.4 acre lot at 50K than it is to sell a 5.2 acre lot at 35K. So I knew that I would just be in the deal way longer, and any incremental revenue I would get would be more than made up for by the additional cost and holding costs and opportunity costs of waiting on the market for much longer. So what I ended up doing is I listed it all together as one piece at $59,900. I wanted to see if I could get an offer into the 50s, see if I could sell it for a little bit more because it had been a year since it sold. So you think with inflation, with cost of living, with it, whatever have you, with appreciation, just want to see what was out there in the market. So it sat for a while. It sat for a while, for months actually. Eventually, I had a buyer who put an offer in, put it under contract. Then that buyer backed out. They didn't close. So it went back on the market. So we found another buyer and then they finally closed. The price that they offered was $50,500. It was actually, I think, $53,000, but then the appraisal came in low. The appraisal report actually based the price assumptions on another property that was like 35 minutes away across the county. It's a long story. Appraisers don't always get it right with land, by the way, but they're the judge, jury, and executioner as it relates to the loan approval. And so we just go with what they say. And eventually it's like, do you want to take the discount or do you want to go back on the market and wait another couple months? So we sold it. It was 176 total days on market, sold price $50,500, which after the commissions and closing costs on the sell side came out to $44,997.49 after everything. So that's the net proceeds, which means that the total cash margin, the total gross profit was $18,245.49, which is not that bad. And when we found this deal, the step-by-step process that we followed to buy it is what we actually packaged into an attachment called the Land Purchase Roadmap, which you can download for free using the link below if you want it. Now, why in the world would a seller who bought this land on the open market at $50,000 the year before, sell that same land 1 year later for half of what she paid, knowing full well that the property is worth double the price that I ended up offering. Why would she do that? Why would anyone do that? Let me ask you something. Let me put you into a scenario here. I want you to imagine that you are on a 10-day vacation in Italy with your family, or maybe with your friends, or your family friends, or friends and family. You're with a group of friends and family. Now, on that 10-day vacation, on day 2, you lose your phone. It's gone. It's gone now. You can't find it. Was it at the museum? Was it at the beach? Was it in the taxi? It's like, no, it's long gone. It's at some pawn shop. You don't speak the language. It's gone forever. Now, my question is, if you knew that your phone was lost in Italy on the second day of your 10-day vacation, would you pay $250 if you knew you could get a replacement that same day? But don't answer yet. Because remember, your phone is under warranty. You also have one of those fancy insurance plans that your friends made fun of you for getting when you bought the phone, because you want to be prepared. You never know what's going to happen, and you have it under insurance. So why would you pay any money? Because you could just wait another 9 days. You could go back home. You fly back across the Atlantic Ocean, go back home, go back to work, go to the AT&T store during normal business hours, and then file the paperwork and get a replacement for free. Listen, all your data, it's in the cloud. Your apps and your data, nothing's lost. It's all there. It's all in the cloud. And in the meantime, while you're in Italy waiting to go home to get your free phone, you might even have iMessage or some other apps on your computer. So a lot of the data that you would practically use on your phone, like, you still have access to it. Maybe it's your MacBook Air or whatever else. So the question is, do you want to wait the 9 days during your vacation in Italy with no phone, then fly home, then go through this rigmarole to then get the phone for free? Or do you want to pay $250 and get a new phone right now? What would you do? Whatever your answer is, a lot of people are getting ready to put the comment into the comment section and tell me, oh, Alex, how dare you? How dare you? $250 is very different from $25,000. No, it's not. It's actually the exact same. Here's how you know it's the exact same. Imagine that you're the motivated seller who owns this land. My question for you is, when you know that you want to sell the land, do you put that land for sale at $50,000 or $55,000, $49,000? Do you put that land up on the market for sale? Do you pay $1,000 for the soil report? Do you pay $500 for the septic permit? Do you pay $250 for the aerial photographer to take aerial photos and aerial video to get the property marketable? Do you then interview a listing agent, call a bunch of listing agents, figure out who's good, roll the dice, sign a listing agreement, find the one that you like, hire them, then wait 6 months, then find a buyer? Then when you find the buyer, then you negotiate with them. When you negotiate, maybe it sells for $50K, which means that if it did, you'd walk away with $45K after commissions. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it sells for $40K. And if it sells for $40K, you really walk away with about $35,000 minus the $1,500 in out-of-pocket costs for the soil work and septic permit, plus the 6 months of time on market, plus the opportunity costs of not having the money that whole time. Or I'll just give you $25,000 cash in 3 weeks and you don't have to do anything. Under the right circumstances, guys, selling illiquid assets like land for less than they're truly worth is completely reasonable. It's completely reasonable. People myopically focus on the number. They're like, are you crazy? Alex, you're buying property at discounts you would never sell it at. You're wrong. I've sold land at discounts like that before, and I'll do it again. I have illiquid assets. Like, guys, anybody want a eye-watering deal on some private market tech stock? I'll give you a discount that will blow your hair back. But oh, you don't want to pay cash, or oh, you don't know how to value it, or oh, you don't want to take the risk. Got it. So, guys, these sellers have other things going on. Okay. They have their money tied up in this thing, and it bottlenecks their ability to do other stuff with their life. So there's more to life than money. There's more to life than owning land. It's all about time. It's all about energy. It's all about experience. It's all about priority. It's about family. Like, what are you really about in this scenario? Now, finding motivated sellers are triggered by life events. It's really the life event that changes the priority for the seller. A lot of times it could be death of a family member, it could be divorce, it could be the seller's going back to school, so they have to get tuition payments to the school. It could be they're moving across the country. It could be an inheritance situation where their parents die and then they go through the estate, but they don't really want the land or they don't want the home and it's in kind of disrepair, so they sell it to an investor who knows what to do with it, right? Whatever the reason, motivated sellers are always, always, always going to accept a lower price in exchange for speed and convenience. In the case of this particular seller, she and her husband bought it and they planned to build their home there, but their plans fell apart. And I guess that they had their first child. I could actually hear a baby in the background while we were on the phone. It was kind of cute. But obviously, like her thing with this land, like the story shifted. It wasn't important anymore. And she was out the money. So the $50,000 that she and her husband spent, like that was paid for. Like that, it's baked already. So it's a sunk cost. So a lot of the people that would think, well, you lost $25,000 on that trade. I mean, not really, because in that situation, the way you look at it is you actually gain 25,000 because the sunk cost that you put into it was sunk either way. And so it's really what, like the past is prologue, like what are we doing now? So, Alex, aren't you taking advantage of these sellers? Isn't that, are you taking advantage? I was at a Philadelphia Union soccer game last weekend, and I bought at the concession stand one of those like Blue Moon Tall Boys, one of those beers. It was a 19.2 ounce tall boy can, which is like a hilariously perfect size. It's like so good. And I don't remember exactly what I paid, but I just remember looking at the other prices. It would have been like $12, no less than $12, probably 14. But the actual product would cost like $4.75 if you bought the same exact tallboy can at a Circle K at a gas station. Same thing. I'm just randomly paying triple for it because I wasn't at the Circle K, I was at the stadium. But then after I bought it, I was just like with my friend drinking this Blue Moon tallboy can 8 rows up from the field of a live MLS soccer game on a 70-degree night. Like, did I feel taken advantage of? Like, I don't have a lot of regrets about it. Like, I'm just an adult in the market and making a trade. I value the tall boy more than I value the money, or I value the convenience more than I value the price, right? So that's how the market works. So how do you find these sellers? How do you find motivated sellers? Because if you were to send indiscriminately 5,000 direct mail letters to a bunch of random property owners, how many responses would you get? I mean, a couple, maybe a few. You might even get some deals. Probably one, I would guess, if you worked the phones and knew what you were doing. But if instead of targeting a random list of 5,000 property owners, what if you instead filtered that list to include only the property owners that are specifically likely to be motivated sellers? So what would that look like? Well, it turns out you can actually do that. And I'm going to give you a couple motivated seller profiles so that you can target these databases if you're trying to find potential owners of vacant land. And then I'm going to show you exactly step by step how to do that. So the first profile of the motivated seller, the classic motivated seller, is the tax delinquent property owner. The tax delinquent list, these are the property owners that own property that are behind on their tax bills. They haven't paid their property taxes at least that year and sometimes multiple years. The tax delinquent list comes through the county tax assessor and it gets aggregated by a lot of third-party database companies, real estate databases such as DataTree, and DataTree is the one that we use. Tax delinquency is a classic sign of emotional detachment of property ownership. They're just not that attached to it on average. Because people that are willing or motivated even to sell that land are disproportionately likely to get behind on their property tax bill. And that's why it's also such a powerful list. Plus, the fact that it's so easy to get. It's such a basic list, and it's just so powerful for those reasons. The other great list is the probate list. These are the properties that are in the process of being passed down or have recently passed down from a deceased family member to one or more heirs. Guys, the percentage of times that heirs will inherit land from their deceased parents or grandparents and then fire sale it at a bargain basement price in the moments after they inherit that land, the number of times that happens is like astonishing. You wouldn't even believe it. If you can contact these owners in the process of the probate, if you can build rapport with these owners in the process of the inheritance and build a relationship with the heirs or maybe their attorney, then you can pick up these incredible deals at eye-watering discounts. You can even get these lists at the county clerk, at the courthouse, and you can also get them on data services like DataTree. You can filter for arm's length transactions, gift deeds, estate sales, etc. So this is a really good signal of motivation. The last one I'm going to talk to you about here is one of my favorites, and it's kind of a subtle one, but it's the out-of-state owner list. A lot of the house wholesalers, they call it the absentee owner list. The idea is that there's this old saying, out of sight, out of mind, that the out-of-state landowner that owns property that is in some other state far removed, they kind of feel burdened by it because they pay the tax bill, but they don't really know what's going on with it. They're not emotionally connected to it. And they're very distanced from it geographically. And so a lot of these people are sellers because what happens is they don't even know how this stuff works. So they get a letter and they're like, wait, so like, do I have to show up there? Do I have to go and sign documents in person? Do I have to like go to some courthouse thing and like sign a piece of paper? And it's like, oh no. Yeah, we'll just handle it with a notary. Like, it's just all, don't worry, you don't have to leave your house. We'll just get you a mobile notary. Like, this is what we do. We walk you through every step of the process. They're like, really? There's so many of those owners and they've gotten so many letters and it just doesn't matter because everything is driven by changes of circumstance and changes of prioritization. And so when they get your letter, they call you. Just like when you get those credit card offers, you ignore all of them until you want a new credit card. And then you just open the mail and you have an offer waiting for you. It's the exact same thing. Now, if you want a diluted version of this list, instead of out of state, if you wanted a bigger version of targets to send more mail or text or do more calls, you could target the out of county list. So it could be out of county in state or out of county out of state. So as long as they're out of county, it's better than being in the county. But just to give you an idea of the out of state owners, how powerful this is, in terms of all the hundreds of land deals that we've done at Acrewell, I don't quote me because I don't have the numbers up in front of me, but I looked at it. It's something like this. When we looked at all of our historic mail files, we looked at the number of rows in these spreadsheets that belonged to property owners that lived out of state. It was like 20%. It was like 20% of all the property owners lived out of state, but they were like 50% of all of our deals were out of state owners. So it's really 2.5 times random chance. Hey guys, we've sent millions of offers over the years, so we have really a lot of data on this, and it's just such a clear signal. The other thing about these motivated seller filters is you can stack them. So you can, in a system like DataTree, you can target motivation by stacking filters. So you could do out of state plus tax delinquent. It's going to be a shorter list, but it's going to be way more motivated when you do build that list. And if you want to start to look at off-market land, then I'm going to show you how to do this step by step in the next video on our channel, which is called How to Find the Best Off-Market Land at Affordable Prices. I hope you enjoy it.